Have you ever written a sentence like this? I'm taller than my brother. Or maybe, finish your homework, then call me. If you have, you're definitely not the only one.
These two tiny words, then and then, look almost identical, but they have completely different meanings, and one small mistake can make your English sound unnatural immediately.
Quick challenge. Which sentence is correct? A, I'll call you then dinner. B, I'll call you than dinner. C, neither of them. Take 3 seconds. What would you choose?
If you're not 100% sure, don't worry. Even advanced English learners confuse these two words every single day.
Here's the good news. There's one incredibly simple pattern that makes then and than easy to remember forever. Once you understand it, you'll never stop to think about them again.
And today, we'll practice with real American conversations, at restaurants, at work, with friends, while texting, and in everyday life, so you'll know exactly when to use then and then naturally.
And later, we'll show you one mistake that native speakers notice almost instantly, plus a quick challenge to see if you can think like a native speaker.
All right, Bella, let's clear up this confusion once and for all.
Let's start with the easier word, then. Imagine your mom says, finish your homework, then you can watch TV. What does then mean here?
It means after that. One thing happens first, and the next thing happens then.
Exactly. That's the first meaning of then. It talks about time or the next step in a sequence.
Think about your morning routine. You wake up, then you brush your teeth, then you have breakfast, then you leave for work. Everything happens in order.
Here are a few more everyday examples. Eat your vegetables, then you can have dessert. Call me when you arrive, then we'll decide where to meet. Finish this report, then start the next project.
Notice something?
Every sentence answers the question, what happens next? That's your clue.
Here's something interesting. Native speakers use then constantly when giving directions, telling stories, or explaining steps. You probably hear it every single day without noticing.
For example, first click the link, then sign in. Turn left, then go straight for 2 blocks. We had dinner, then we watched a movie.
Ryan, what are your plans after work?
I'm going to the gym, then I'm meeting some friends for dinner.
Busy evening.
See? That sounds completely natural in American English.
Here's a tip. Native speakers often begin stories with then. Then something unexpected happened. Then I realized I was at the wrong restaurant. Then everyone started laughing. It makes the story flow naturally.
Now, here's a mistake many learners make. They write, I'm taller than my brother. That's not correct. We'll explain why in just a moment.
For now, just remember one simple idea. If you're talking about time or what happens next, you almost always need then. Which sentence sounds correct? A, finish your homework, then go outside. B, finish your homework, then go outside. Take a second. Which one would you say?
The answer is A, because we're talking about the next step.
Great. But here's where thousands of learners get confused. What if you're comparing 2 people, 2 things, or 2 ideas? That's when than comes in. Now, let's talk about the word that causes most of the confusion. Than. Imagine I say, Ryan is taller than I am. What does than tell us?
It tells us we're making a comparison. We're comparing 2 people.
Exactly. That's the biggest job of than. It compares one thing with another.
Let's look at some everyday examples. This coffee is stronger than the one I had yesterday. New York is bigger than Boston. My new phone is faster than my old one.
Notice the pattern. When you hear words like bigger, smaller, better, faster, more, less, there's a very good chance than comes next. Ryan, who wakes up earlier, you or your brother?
Definitely my brother. He gets up much earlier than I do.
I could never do that.
See? That's a real comparison.
Here's something interesting. Native speakers don't always finish the comparison. For example, this one is better than that. I'd rather stay here than there. It's easier than before. Sometimes the second part is very short because everyone already understands what you're comparing.
Now let's fix one of the biggest mistakes learners make. Some people write, she is smarter than me. That's incorrect.
Why? Because you're making a comparison, and comparisons use than, not then. Which do you like more, summer or winter?
I'd say winter. It's much cooler than summer.
I knew you were going to say that. Choose the correct sentence. A, this book is more interesting than that one. B, This book is more interesting than that one. Take a few seconds. Which sounds right? The correct answer is A, because we're comparing two books. So here's an easy way to remember it. Than equals comparison. But here's where many learners freeze. Sometimes both words appear in sentences that look almost identical. How do you know which one to choose? Let's make it incredibly simple. So far, we've learned one important job for each word. Then talks about time, and than talks about comparisons. But here's the question. How can you remember that instantly without stopping to think every time you write?
Good question. Here's the trick that helps thousands of English learners. Think of then as a timeline. One thing happens, then another thing happens. It's all about time.
Now think of than as two things standing side by side. You're looking at both and deciding which one is bigger, better, faster, or more expensive. That's a comparison.
Let's test that idea. I finished work, then I went home. Time or comparison?
Time. So we use then.
Now listen to this one. My sister is taller than me. Time or comparison?
Comparison. So we use then. Ryan, what do you usually do after dinner?
I wash the dishes, then I watch TV.
Perfect. Now, who's a better cook, you or your brother?
Definitely my brother. He's much better than I am.
Two sentences, two different words, and both sound completely natural.
Here's something interesting. When native speakers are talking, they never stop and think, should I use then or then? They simply ask themselves one question. Am I talking about time or am I making a comparison? That's it.
Let's fix another common mistake. Some learners write, first we'll eat, then we'll leave. That's incorrect. You're talking about what happens next, so the correct sentence is, first we'll eat, then we'll leave.
Now another one. This test was easier than the last one. Also incorrect. You're comparing two tests, so you need than.
Ready? Choose the correct word. Finish your breakfast, blank, brush your teeth. Then or than. Take a few seconds.
The answer is then, because one action happens after another.
Now try this one. Summer is hotter, blank, winter. Which word fits?
Then, because we're comparing two seasons.
Great. But here's something that surprises many learners. Sometimes than and than can appear in the same sentence. Let's see how native speakers use them together. Now we're getting to the fun part. Believe it or not, sometimes you'll see then and than in the very same conversation, and that's where many learners panic.
But once you understand the difference, it's actually very easy. Let's look at a real-life example. If this restaurant is too crowded, then we'll eat somewhere cheaper than this place.
Did you notice? We used both words. Then, because we're talking about what happens next. Than, because we're comparing two restaurants. Ryan, what's your plan after work today?
If I finish early, then I'll go to the gym. If not, I'll just go home.
And which gym do you like more?
The new one. It's much bigger than my old gym.
Perfect. One sentence uses then, the other uses than.
Here's something that surprises many learners. Native speakers don't memorize spelling rules while speaking. They simply think, what's my idea? If the idea is, what happens next, they naturally choose then. If the idea is, which one is better, bigger, faster, or different, they naturally choose than. That's how fluent speakers think.
Imagine you're shopping. Your friend asks, which laptop should I buy? You answer, let's compare the prices first. Then we'll decide.
A few minutes later, you say, this one is cheaper than the other one. See how naturally both words appear?
Here's another sentence learners often write incorrectly. I'll call you, then we can talk. That doesn't sound natural because you're talking about the next action. The correct sentence is, I'll call you, then we can talk.
Now this one. This movie was better than the first one. Again, that's incorrect. You're comparing two movies. So the correct word is than.
Choose the correct sentence. A, we'll finish lunch, then we'll go shopping. B, we'll finish lunch, then we'll go shopping. Take a second. Which one sounds natural?
The answer is A, because we're talking about the next event.
Now one more. My new apartment is much quieter, blank, my old one. Then or than.
Then, because we're making a comparison.
Excellent. You already know the biggest difference between these two words, but there's one more situation that confuses almost everyone, especially when writing emails, messages, and social media posts. Let's practice those real-life situations next. By now, you know the difference between then and than. But here's where many learners still make mistakes, not while speaking, but while writing. Text messages, emails, social media, and even work documents.
Exactly. Because when we're typing quickly, our brain sometimes chooses the wrong word. Even native speakers make this mistake occasionally.
Imagine your friend texts you, "Let's grab dinner." You reply, "Sure, I'll finish work, then I'll meet you." Why then?
Because one thing happens first and the next thing happens afterward. It's about time.
Now imagine you're writing an email. "This month's sales were higher than last month's." Why then?
Because you're comparing 2 different months. That's a comparison.
Ryan, did you like your old apartment?
It was okay, but my new apartment is much quieter than the old one.
Nice. So what are you doing after work?
I'm going grocery shopping, then I'm cooking dinner at home.
Here's something interesting. When native speakers proofread their writing, they usually ask themselves just one question. Am I talking about time? If the answer is yes, it's probably then. If they ask, am I comparing 2 things? It's almost always than. That simple question catches most mistakes instantly.
Let's fix a few mistakes you'll often see online. X, call me then we'll talk. X, call me then we'll talk. X, my car is faster than yours. X, my car is faster than yours. X, finish your homework then go outside. X, finish your homework then go outside.
Ready for another one? Which sentence is correct? A, she's younger than her sister. B, she's younger than her sister. Take a second. Which one sounds natural?
The answer is A, because we're comparing 2 people.
One last challenge. We'll eat dinner, blank, watch a movie. Which word fits?
Then, because it's the next step in the evening.
Fantastic. You now understand the difference, but let's see if you can use these words without any help. It's time for your final challenge. All right, it's time for your final challenge. No hints this time. Just trust what you've learned. Ready? Complete the sentence. Finish your homework, blank, you can play video games.
Then. Because one thing happens first and another happens after.
This restaurant is better, blank, the one across the street.
Then. Because we're comparing 2 restaurants.
First we'll check in, blank, we'll go through security.
Then. It's the next step.
My brother is younger, blank, I am.
Then. Because it's a comparison.
How did you do? 4 out of 4? Outstanding! You're starting to think like a native English speaker. 2 or 3 correct? Great job! You're making real progress. 0 or 1? Don't worry. Watch this lesson one more time and it'll feel much easier the second time.
Let's remember the easiest rule. Then equals time. After that. Next. What happens later?
Than equals comparison. Bigger than, smaller than, better than, more than, less than.
Whenever you're not sure, ask yourself one question. Am I talking about time or am I comparing 2 things? The answer will almost always give you the correct word.
Here's your challenge. Write 1 sentence using then and 1 sentence using than in the comments below. And before you post it, pause the video, say both sentences out loud, then write them. Speaking and writing together helps you remember them much longer.
If you enjoyed today's lesson, please like this video, subscribe to Talk Bella, and turn on notifications. We upload a new English lesson every Tuesday and Friday, so there's always something new to help you speak more naturally.
Next time, we'll break down another pair of English words that even advanced learners confuse every day. You won't want to miss it.
Thanks for learning with us today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.